What do an AI algorithm and a rainforest have in common? At first glance, nothing. But look closer and you'll see that both carry the fingerprints of the world that created them. Hi, my name is Katelyn Liu, and I always used to think science was just about facts and data. But then in sophomore year history class, I learned about the Industrial Revolution and how the adoption of new technologies solved societal and economic issues, but also brought new ones like pollution and labor rights. Science in history class? That's the last thing I would have expected. But it taught me that science isn't locked up in textbooks. It's part of every choice we make as a society. The data behind AI, the studies of climate change, even the conservation efforts in Costa Rica, they're all shaped by people, our histories, our choices, and yes, our biases. Science does not exist in a vacuum. When I was in Costa Rica, a farmer taught us how to plant black and white pepper, plants that had once fueled global empires and trade routes. But he didn't focus on profit at all. Instead, he told us about how he plants different species of trees to improve biodiversity and support the local birds, pollinators, and other wildlife. To him, pepper isn't an export or a commodity. It's part of an ecosystem. Another conversation that stuck out to me was one with our guide, Minor. I asked him what he loved most about living in Costa Rica. He said it was the care and connection that people have with the land. This was another reminder that science isn't just in labs and policies and textbooks. It lives in the relationships that we build with the world around us every single day. Now, when we think of climate change, we often think of rising temperatures, melting ice caps, and carbon emissions. But what doesn't come to mind as easily is how that shows up, and the impacts are not evenly spread. Communities that contribute the least to greenhouse gas emissions often face the harshest effects. Low-lying islands, neighborhoods near industrial sites, and areas prone to drought or flooding. Researchers at UCLA found that the areas in Los Angeles with the fewest resources experience 65% higher toxicity from pollution than the wealthiest areas. I then learned in my summer course that redlining in the 1930s created a system where certain neighborhoods were denied loans and other services, often due to racial or ethnic composition. Growing up in LA, I could see these inequities firsthand. Walking through certain cities, often ones that were redlined, I noticed that they have far less green space and natural areas, and not only that, but they feel hotter and harsher, with a scarcity of shade and vegetation. Similar inequities persist with AI, which relies on data centers that generate immense carbon emissions and use large amounts of water. The 2023 Google Environmental Report states that it operated its data center in Finland on 97% carbon-free energy, and over 50% for all US locations. On the other hand, that number drops to less than 20% for Asian data centers. This shows that green technology, while beneficial, is still very unevenly distributed. Speaking of AI, please raise your hand if you've ever asked ChatGPT something. I certainly have. It's very easy to think of AI as a flawless decision maker, but in reality, AI learns from data, and that data comes from us, and from systems that already carry inequality. For example, some AI hiring algorithms are trained to recognize successful candidates based on past data. If that past data mostly consists of white men from elite schools, the AI model is very likely to favor similar candidates, even if equally qualified women or people from other schools apply. AI doesn't always erase human bias, it can even amplify it. So we have to ask, if AI learns from data and that data is biased, how do we make sure that AI is equitable? Science isn't neutral. It comes from choices made by scientists and policymakers. So imagine a world where the models guiding climate plans are based on the data and voices of communities living with drought, pollution, and flooding firsthand, not just those designing servers in wealthy cities. Imagine if we push schools and labs to measure success in not just innovation, but also in impact. So now, I encourage you to pause and question the systems that you interact with every day, the AI you use, the data you trust, and the voices you center. I encourage you to support scientists, educators, and students from underrepresented backgrounds. You can even join citizen science projects such as iNaturalist to make sure that science is shaped by people and places, not just by institutions. All these actions may seem small, but collectively, they build a future where science is more inclusive, more just, and more powerful because it reflects more of us. So I'll tell you, science shapes the future, but we shape science. So I'll leave you with this. The way we choose to shape it, with humanity, with empathy, with inclusivity, determines the way it shapes society. Thank you.